If you're
Great.
ready, then start at the beginning and talk about when you got into veganism, what year it was, and then what happened, the health issues that followed, and why you got into it, what health issues you had already. Yeah.
All right. Okay, great. Well, my name is Daniel. I am from Mexico City. I started into the veganism thing about December of 2016. I end up with this crazy idea of being vegan 2 years later, about December 2019, 2018, and I'm sorry, 2016, December, and I end up on these days about 15, 20 days ago. On 2013, I was overweight, pretty much like 14 kilos. And I started to go to see a doctor, regular doctor, modern doctors, that gave me some tests, and I figured out I was resistant, insulin resistant, and with a very high ranks of triglycerides. I was almost 1,523, something like that. So he wanted to get rid of the weight, the extra weight, no matter what, on any cost. So he has a very unusual way to to make somebody lose weight. I don't know. I kind of decide that the modern science is not the proper way to get healthy. So he says you can drink 5 Coca-Colas if you want to get rid of the anxiety. Diet Coke, of course. And then he decided to put me on a V8. I mean, since I wasn't cook too much in my house, I used to live alone. I'm still living alone. I have a girlfriend, but the problem is that I didn't have enough time to prepare myself salads and all that stuff. So he says you need to to eat that kind of vegetables, 120 grams. But if you don't have time, so just drink a V8. And you need that kind of meat. So if you don't have time, just eat sausages, turkey sausages. And I started to lose weight, of course, but I was having this sensation that I couldn't urinate anymore. So I was having um, prostatitis. I don't know how you say that.
Yeah.
And I was almost getting into to check a biopsy of my prostate. I didn't want that, so I started to research for myself, and exactly there it was the trap, because when you're looking for yourself, trying to figure out a way to get out of um, a regular um, modern way of addressing a problem, a healthy problem. The first thing you see is veganism sometimes in YouTube and all that stuff. So I said, okay, I'm going to clean myself. I'm going to stop eating meat. This doctor of the prostate says that he usually know that the people who has cancer, prostate cancer, is because of the red meat. And I took it very serious, that thing, and started to stop doing this. Stop eating meat. Later on, I figured out that at some point, my prostate started to shrink. I mean, a regular size. I avoid having a biopsy of the prostate because I didn't really trust in that. And this doctor, I end up losing it. He says to me, this was the part that for me was kind of contradicting, but he says, I talked to him and says, I'm going to quit eating meat and I'm going to be vegan. He says, you're going to end up dead. And I said, why? I mean, I still was going to end up dead with your Coca-Colas and V8 and all that stuff. So 6 months later that I was vegan, I make a test on myself, and This was very tricky because all these levels of glucose, triglycerides, and everything went down. And I was pretty normal. And the first 2 months, I was having a lot of energy. I was starting to swim a lot. Uh, I mean, I swim 2 kilometers daily. I felt great. I felt like I was having a drug. Incredible. So I said, this must be it. I mean, I'm in the right spot. Veganism is the proper way to maintain yourself and be healthy. Um, Later on, about maybe 8, 7, at the maybe 8 month, I started to feel weak, and I said, maybe I'm not doing something right. Probably I tried to reach. I end up downloading an application that says Happy Cow. I'm sure that many vegans know this application. It's an app that you find out places, vegan restaurants to eat. These places they serve pretty much a lot of junk food, too many oil in this, too many sugar. So you end up probably I went to Las Vegas for a vacation, and I end up eating a lot of sugar and too much grease. I mean, too much fat from synthetic oils. And when I did myself another test, blood test, I was raising again triglycerides, glucose, and all this stuff of resistance, insulin resistant. And I end up being very confused about what to do. Later on, I tried to put myself in a position that I'm going to go to find out what happened to people who become vegan and end up wrong. So I put in YouTube ex-vegan. I just searched that. And the first thing I saw was you taking an interview with a person who had like a lady who has 20 years of veganism. It hit me in the face. I mean, um, I figured out that all these symptoms, I do have it. I don't know how many she had, but I remember that I started to look at that day. Probably I didn't sleep at all. I was very intrigued of finding out more about it. So I already had I break a tooth, and I have 4 cavities at the same time. I spent more than 2 or 3 months with rescheduling and doing all that stuff with the dentist. So I was having problem with my teeth. I have my hair started to fall off. I started to age very quickly. I mean, I didn't used to have this gray hair on that amount in those 2 years. Very fatigue, chronic um, fatigue. Also joint pains, a lot of joint pains. I end up not doing any exercise at all. I don't know where my energy went away. I mean, I was used to have to swim, and I've never was an athlete. Um, but when I started veganism, I have that amount of energy, so much energy on myself that I have to put it somewhere else, and that's why I started to do exercise. But it's like two sides of the same coin. So
Were
I
you
started.
losing weight?
I was losing weight.
So you were eating
Uh,
yourself. That's why, yeah,
yes,
the energy. Yeah, okay.
yeah. The energy was amazing. I mean, I've never felt that before. Later on, I started to lose muscle mass. But when the resistance of insulins, the pre-diabetic, and also insomnia. I mean, my girlfriend started to follow me because I was very convinced. I started to look at Earthlinks, Netflix, What the Health, Forks Over Knives. I read the whole book of How Not to Die from this guy, Michael Greger, which I don't understand how a book that is, I don't know, so very well written. It has so much lies there. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. He's talking about many, many studies,
Yeah.
study after study after study. Even he says that I don't want to make an opinion of myself of anything that I do. The only things that I do is because I study them, and they are not my own opinions. They're facts. And it's so convincing. This book is so convincing that I thought I was on the right track, and this is the way to heal myself. And it was going to be the way all my life. Then I started to feel that it's good to save animals. It's good not to. I mean, I was going to the gym, and when I was showering, a guy was leaving the water running, and the other guy was very upset. And I was getting into that, and I said, if you're vegan, you will save like 660 gallons of water. So don't make a scene because he's running some water here and wasting water. So many things that I've learned of those places, grain brain, and I confuse myself of what is true and what is not true about eating. I'm sure that is the eating 80%, 90% of our disease is the eating way. I'm sure about it. So I learned a lot of things, but to be honest, veganism at the beginning helped me out to get rid of this doctor, this crazy doctor that told me to eat uh, 5 Coca-Colas in order to be satisfied or things like that. And he's a doctor who works in two main hospitals in
Were
Mexico.
there any other health issues you had, or was that
Yes,
it? No.
I had candida,
Hmm.
systemic candida, which is I have it too much in all my. I started to have like sores in all my mouth, and it, it doesn't make any sense. I was taking a lot of medicine to get these sores out of me, out of my system. Brain fog. I started to lose memory because I sing, and I used to know these lyrics, these songs very easy. I didn't have to take an iPad and started to read. And I says, how come these songs that I knew very well, I started to read it again. Continue bloating all the time. I was bloated. It was crazy. I mean, my girlfriend and I, we were having this gas all the time, and trying to convince ourselves that this gas was something that we were trying to get rid of our system. We're trying to cleanse ourselves, and they even give us some kind of um, I don't know, advices of what to do with the beans, to reach them 24 or 48 hours with water and soda water, things like that, but never works, never works. And also skin problems, a lot of skin problems, all the time using cream because we were feeling the skin very, very dry. Intestine, every time we eat, I felt immediately something like I needed to go to crash myself and sleep for at least 1 hour, 2 hours, or maybe 40 minutes. Even if I am on driving, I end up pulling myself and maybe sleep for 20 minutes and then have the energy to go back. It was like the food was doing this to me. Very acid pH, and well, continually bloating. That was it about all the symptoms. And I started to realize that most of the people that you were interviewing in those interviews were having the same thing. So I said, I have to stop kidding myself. This is the veganism, and I don't know what happened before, but I know right now that this is not the proper way to go, to continue. So after that, I was having all this reflux. I have a gear that actually make myself burning my vocals strings, And I went to see many doctors about this gear because I have a hernia. That was because of the overweight that I had before. And this hernia, they started to bring me a lot of, the next few mops, omeprazole, all that things that antacids, protons inhibitors. And I figured out that it was time to get rid of all these medicines. And the persons I went to says, you always get sick on flu or many of how do you call this allergies, and it has nothing to do with the flu. It has to do with all that you have here is acid, and it's going to even to your throat, and then you create
Mucus?
mucus. I'm sorry, to get to protect yourself about this, and then it become a problem with an infection that you're treating like a viral thing, and it all became here. So I said, what do I do? And I started to see a veganism that if you drink vinegar, this one apple cider vinegar black, I might be able to get rid of all these antacids, and it worked. It worked for some time. I started to drink lemon and this vinegar at the morning as a breakfast, and then started to eat something. The problem is that it doesn't last too much, and I have to drink more and more and more vinegar in order to get myself less acid or less affected by it. So I'm learning now. I know a person. I'm gonna take a course, like a course with somebody who knows about paleo, and he even says that water is very bad for you. He's a very controversial doctor in Mexico because everybody thinks here that you have to drink a lot of water in order to get healthy. So I started to, he says, instead of making water, drinking water, bottled water, just try to do your own water, put some salt in it, put some soda water, very small amounts, and some bee honey, good bee honey, and not the best quality that you can find, so it won't be diluted or something like that. And I started to drink this. For the first time, I didn't have to go in the middle of the movie, go to the bathroom, because I had to go to the bathroom in the middle of the movie and at the end, running to the bathroom. And for the first time, I was not feeling this necessity of going to the bathroom. So I said, it must to do with this kind of water, bottled water that I am drinking every time. It's starting to drain myself, my own amount of water that I had to have in my body. So at this point, I'm trying to figure out what to drink in order to not get how do you say that in English? Um, dehydrated, because the more water you drink, the more dehydrated you feel. And right now, I mean, if I say that to my girlfriend, after veganism, she doesn't,
Take you
she
serious,
doesn't
yeah.
know at all. I mean, everything that I am doing right now is not taken serious. I
Yeah.
even show one of your videos when you were eating raw meat, and she was like, "This is very disgusting. I cannot do it."
Yeah.
And then I went to a supermarket and I tried to figure out good meat that has grass feed and all that. And it took a lot of courage for me because I have this psychological thing that you shouldn't be eating raw meat. And I tried, and I had these two sensations at the same time. When I was eating that, I felt good in my taste. It was good, but I was still looking at meat and feeling something's not right. But what can I tell you? At this point, I think I'm going to go slowly. I am eating meat that I try to tell the restaurant do it medium well or medium rare. Um, I eat eggs. I try to eat eggs on a raw, but this new sensation that I'm having something that is not. I mean, it's. I'm sure that it's a psychological thing. I'm sure that it can be better for me. I'm still very interested in knowing how it affects the meat if it's cooked or even if it's slowly cooked.
Yeah,
And
back to veganism. What
yes,
about all the supplements that you took? Could you name
wow,
some of them? Because there were so many.
there's many. I send you some pictures if you want to put them out.
Sure.
I yeah, it was a lot. I mean, I was every time I went to the U.S. to for a vacation or whatever, we went to Whole Foods. We end up getting into Amazon, and well, we try everything. We even went to a nutritionist that is vegan, and he was taking us check the vitamins, and he says, okay, now you're gonna need slippery elm, then you're gonna need vitamin C, then vitamin A, vitamin D, then you have to do these shakes all in the morning with a lot of spinach and kale and curcumin and ginger. And I was drinking this as a medication
Mm.
and started to bloat immediately. I mean, as soon as I end up drinking this, I was having this ball, and also my hernia started to ache myself a lot.
Yeah.
I was in pain, and I thought I was getting nutritious. Right now, I've been like 20 days. Well, in the place of all the things, chlorella. Um, I believe that I took um, what else? There is like hundreds of those.
I can link
Uh,
the picture, then people can see. Would you say that
yes,
veganism is a great business? Did you spend a lot of money on it?
of course. I mean, of course, veganism is the future of the companies. I'm sure that they're not only getting you to buy this stuff, but at the same time, they are trying to make you sick so you can go to more doctors, so you can take more metformin, Lipitor, all that stuff. And this is a business that the business that has too many faces that everybody's winning on it. If you are tired, if you are not living well, if you have high amounts of glucose in your body, and you're taking all these supplements that is going to deplete your health and all that stuff, you're going to end up like I was. I was on metformin for 5 years. I was also on another medicine, or I don't know, medicine that is for triglycerides for another 5 years. And the trap is you want to get rid of the modern science, modern health, and the only thing you find, or maybe 90% of what you find for yourself in the internet and YouTube, is veganism.
Yeah.
So it's a trap, very well put it, very easy trap to get into.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're not safe with the regular doctors, and you're not safe with veganism. So it's kind of the world is trying to figure out a way so you get sick or you get depopulated. I mean, you die.
Yeah.
And if you're not dying, you're gonna end up eating and eating, taking and taking a lot of medicine, and then the hospital is going to be involved, the doctors is going to be involved, and all that stuff. Even cancer, that it's a big business. In Mexico, at least, is I mean, the most expensive thing that you can buy in Mexico is health. It's incredible. But my father died of diabetic, and he was depleting himself in any way, and we end up spending 1,300,000 pesos, which is it is a lot of money. When he died, it probably was more than more than $200,000 in that moment. And I mean, this is business. Hospitals are business. Doctors are business. They just want to make a living. Very, very ugly way, but they want to make a living.
Yeah. Here's
And
the question: how do you see the future of veganism? You think it's gonna grow, or what's going to happen?
unfortunately, yes, there's many people like me that are that were very confused with health, and they're going to be searching on the internet. They're going to be researching, and this is growing. I mean, I'm sure that it is growing. It's not shrinking right now. It's on the place that it's going to be bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. The only thing that can save people is that they begin to be honest with themselves when the honeymoon of the veganism end up.
Yeah.
So then you're going to be asking what happened to me. Some take the blame on themselves. Some of us are going to dig into a little bit more. I don't know exactly what is the plan of making people not having steaks or eggs or usual food that makes you stronger, makes you healthier. But I'm sure that the reason is behind economics and not, I mean, exactly they sell it the opposite. They say you're going to be saving resources if you don't eat the meat. We're going to end up finding a way to help the planet, to help the land. And this is exactly the opposite way. It's when politics are trying to sell you one candidate and they make the other one a very, very bad person, and because they want exactly the opposite thing. So it's a very merchandising, the way they are marketing this, it's incredibly big. So I hope I don't have this opinion on it, but I think veganism is going to be growing and growing and growing for maybe 10 years more,
And
at
then what?
least. Then people are going to be very sick, I believe.
Yeah.
Very, very sick. And then they're going to figure out a way of getting another solution,
Mm.
a quick solution that is not going to be a whole solution, but they're going to find out a drug or something that is made out of animals or whatever. I don't know exactly what is going to happen, but this is devastating the health of the whole world. And it's beginning to be very, very, I mean, in the whole world. I mean, I saw in Israel how many people are walking on the streets talking about I don't know the helping the animals and all that stuff, and it's big. It's big. Probably it's like a target there. I don't know exactly why, but and why in Israel, because also Israel has so many improvement science, so it's very easy to confuse somebody that also can. They are trying to figure out meat that is artificial meat right now. They are finding out a way of doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, I believe that veganism is growing, it's expanding, and it's going to be um, doing a lot of harm to many people. Um,
What do you
right now,
think is the most important thing that vegans should hear and realize? Like, if you would want to
I'm,
say something to them, what is it that they should learn?
well, I'm sure that the people who are watching these or watching every of your videos that you've been doing so far is that they are halfway already, because no one gets into the antagonistic way of veganism if they don't have a little bit of doubt on themselves that they are not doing well. And also they have to have, like, there's a saying in Mexico that you have to have your cup not completely full, a little bit empty, so you can have in your mind a little bit open mind to find out if you are wrong,
Mm.
because many people were convinced themselves that they are not wrong, that this is fine. So half of the people who, I mean, the people who's watching this, they already halfway through to figure it out. They are already doubting themselves. But the people who are not watching this, what can I say? I mean, people who watch this, I'm sure that the important thing to tell them is not your blame. You got stuck. You got framed. You get absolutely deceived on what is healthy and what is not healthy. No, it's not your diet, or no, it's not that you cheating, eating something else that is not completely vegan or whole food. It's not that. It's just that the vegan food, even if it's a whole food diet, is gonna end up with your defenses. It's gonna end up making you sick, making you tired all the time. In the best scenario, the worst scenario, you're gonna fall your teeth. It's gonna be ugly. You're gonna end up crashing your bones. And I hope that people who's watching this, first of all, doubt themselves that they're not always right, and they have to know that sometimes we make mistakes, figure it out a way out, and digging into something worse than it was before. So at this point, what I can tell you to the people who are watching this is uh, research a little bit more, try to eat some meat, eggs, and figure out how you feel about it. Because the first time I eat an egg, after all this time, I was feeling I was giving myself a good massage, a good a support thing. I was getting, like when you are dehydrating and they put it some how do you call this, suero,
Zero, yeah.
se- and you end up getting all this energy back, like you put yourself in a battery station and they they put your battery to charge. It's exactly how I felt. So at this point, I still have a lot of doubts about everything. I don't want to go radical. People who is in veganism, they tend to be radicals on themselves, like myself, very radical. They went to from black to white and then go all the way to black again, and there's no gray areas here. And this is a very dangerous way to be in many things, also in health.
Hmm. I would say this sums it up. Or is there anything else important you would like to add?
No,
No?
I believe that this is it, and
Yeah.
I was having this moral necessity to tell people who actually I I drove themselves to be vegan, that they know that it didn't work for me. Maybe at the beginning, but at the end it was worse than it was before.
Hmm.
And people make mistakes, so I do make mistake too. And this is a way of telling all these people that veganism is not the way to go. It's not a good path, and it's not gonna make you healthy. So as soon as you figure out that, the sooner you figure it out, the better for your health and the better for you.
Okay,
That's
man.
it.
Thanks for sharing your story.
And thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you.